Hey guys, this is Mrs. Harbin, and this is Algebra 2, Section 5.2. Today we are going to look at factoring quadratic polynomials. So our biblical correlation for this unit is the body is a unit, though it is made up of many parts, and though all its parts are many, they form one body. So it is with Christ, from 1 Corinthians 12:12. And we talked a little bit last lesson about how math, just like many of the other things that God created, is not meant to work in isolation. It's meant to work in concert with other disciplines, like science, for example. And when we're solving problems, we're not using skills in isolation, just addition or just subtraction. We're using all of these operation skills in concert with one another, so that we can accomplish a greater task for the greater good. Our lesson objective for today is that you, the student, will factor a common monomial from a polynomial and factor trinomials, as well as use patterns to factor special products. So we've got three main actions here: factoring a common monomial from a polynomial, factoring trinomials, and then use patterns. So those are the three things that we're going to be focusing on. Factoring, hopefully you know, but if not, this should be hopefully a reminder. Factoring is the opposite of multiplying. So when you think back to multiplication, we had a simple fact like 2 times 3 equals 6. And we had 2 was a factor and 3 is a factor, and our product is 6. If you think about the other factors of 6, we know that 6 and 1 are also factors. And when we multiply those factors together, we get a product. Well, factoring is when you start with the product and you list the factors. So if we were given 6, for example, we could say that the factors of 6 are 2 times 3, and the other factors of 6 are 6 times 1. So this is nothing new. You should be able to factor just numbers. What may be new now is learning how to factor polynomials. So the first step in factoring is to factor out the greatest common factor. If you think about when you were given a list of numbers, probably back in the 5th or 6th grade, you might have been given numbers like this: 48, 36, and 60, for example. And you had to find the greatest common factor. And what you probably did when you did that was list all the different factors. So the different factors of 48, you had 1 and 48. You had 2 and 24. Etc., etc., etc. You had, that's supposed to be a 3 and 16. You had 4 and 12. Moving on, for 36, you now had 1 and 36, you had 2 and 18, you had 3 and 13, and so forth and so on. And then you do the same for 60, and you would look at all of the different factors and you would say, oh, this is the largest one that they have in common. This is their greatest common factor. So you should be familiar with that concept. Again, doing that with just numbers. Now let's apply it to monomials and polynomials. So the greatest common factor when we're talking about polynomials is the product of all of the factors shared by every term of the polynomial. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. Basically, we want to know what they have in common. Now, when first starting out with factoring, you may have to list every single product individually, like we started to do here with 48, 36, and 60. You may have had to list all of those different factors. The more experience that you get with factoring, the easier it will be for you to find that greatest common factor. You can look at it and you can do it mentally. But let's take a look at what it looks like when we have to list all of the factors. So let's think of the factors of 15x squared and 45x. These are our two terms, and we know that the factors of 15 are 3 times 5, and then x squared is x times x. And the factors of 45 are 3 times 3 times 5 times x. So both of these have been put into prime factorization, where we've listed their factors, and then we identify what they have in common. They both have 1, 3, and they both have at least 1, 5, and they both have at least 1 x. And here's our leftover. We have an x and a 3 over here left over, but what they have in common is a 3 times a 5 times an x. Well, 3 times 5 times x is 15x. So the greatest common factor here is 15x. Again, eventually you'll get to the point where you can just look at these two monomials, these two terms, for example, and say, oh yeah, they both can be divided by 15x. Remember, factoring is just the opposite of multiplication. Division is the opposite of multiplication. So when we're pulling out a factor, what we're really doing is dividing by that factor. So we can say, oh, both of these can be divided by 15x. But for right now, you may have to list those individual terms. All right, once we have determined the greatest common factor, we're going to divide each of our terms by that greatest common factor. 15x, 15x. So when we pull out or divide by this 15x, what's left of the first term goes in parentheses. Well, 15x squared divided by 15x is just x. And that's what goes in parentheses here. And 45x divided by 15x. 45 divided by 15 is 3. And x divided by x is 1. So we're left with this 3. So we're going to rewrite that because we're kind of going in reverse order of the distribution property. We're going to rewrite that with our factor on the outside of the parentheses and what's left over on the inside of the parentheses. You can see up here, once we took out that 15x, all we had left was an x. And once we removed the 15x from here, all we had left was a 3. And you can see that written here as well. So when we factor out, we're going to write the common factor on the outside of the parentheses. And what's remaining, and we've removed that common factor, is anything that's left. In this case, x plus x and 3. So this is just like the distributive property working in reverse. So before we were multiplying and distributing it into the parentheses. Now we are pulling out the common factor and putting those parentheses back in. Right, our common factor gets written on the outside of the parentheses, and what we have left over is written on the inside of the parentheses. So we've got a 15x was our common factor. That goes here. And our x and our positive 3, that's what's left over. That goes here. To make sure that this is actually factored, we could use the distributive property. We could multiply that back out, and if we did, we would get 15x squared plus 45x. So we know that we have factored that correctly. All right, let's take a look at another example. We're going to factor 2x times 3x minus 7 plus 5 times 3x minus 7. Hopefully by looking at that, it's jumping out at you in red, and you can see that our greatest common factor in both of these terms, jumping out in red, is 3x minus 7. So we have 2x times 3x minus 7 and 5 times 3x minus 7. Our greatest common factor is going to go on the outside of the parentheses, and anything that's left over goes on the inside of the parentheses. So we're going to rewrite that as 3x minus 7, our greatest common factor. And what's left over? Well, we have a 2x and a positive 5. So 2x plus 5 goes in that other set of parentheses. Again, if we wanted to check that, we could multiply it back out to ensure that that really is factored correctly. Now, last class, we took a look at some definitions, and we talked about quadratic equations. And we said that quadratic equations were second-degree polynomials, because of that square there, and they always form a parabola. We don't need to worry about graphing them yet, but here's a little bit more of a precise definition. A quadratic trinomial is a second-degree polynomial, there's that x squared term, of this form. There are 3 terms. Boom, boom, boom. That's why it's called a quadratic trinomial. It's quadratic because the highest degree is 2, and it's a trinomial because there are 3 terms. Now you may be thinking to yourself, or maybe asking me, why is it called a quadratic? We know quad means 4, when it's a squared term. Think about that, see if you can figure out the answer to that, and if you want to, if you remember to ask me next class, I'll explain why a quadratic has a squared term. But anyway, our form is this, ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c represent numbers, and our x's are then variables. This 2 here, this exponent, is what makes it the second degree. We've talked about that already. So to factor quadratic trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, when a is equal to 1, we would follow these steps. First, identify the 2 factors of c. That's our constant term. It's going to be just a number by itself, whose sum is b, the coefficient of the middle term. Let's explain this on the next slide. It will make more sense if we see some real numbers. All right, sorry my slides were a little out of order. I had to fix them, but we should be back and we should be good now. So here's our polynomial, or as we said, our quadratic trinomial. We have x squared minus 4x minus 21. First of all, we need to recognize if there's a GCF. If there is, we're going to factor it out. Well, when I look at these three terms, my x squared and minus 4x and minus 21, I don't have a greatest common factor for all three terms. There's nothing that all three terms have in common, so I don't have a greatest common factor. Next, we're going to look to see if there are two factors of c whose sum is b. So two factors of negative 21 whose sum is negative 4. I'm going to make this little chart here to help me think about that. Thinking of two numbers that when multiplied equal 21, negative 21, but when combined or added equal negative 4. Well, I need to start thinking of those factors of 21. I know 21 has 7 and 3 and 21 and 1, and that's about it. I know it's negative 21, so one of my numbers needs to be negative and the other one needs to be positive. And negative 21 and positive 21 don't equal negative 4. And negative 1 and positive 21 don't equal negative 4. So it must be the 7 and the 3. And if I think about that, I'll realize that negative 7 and positive 3, when multiplied, equal negative 21, but when added, equal negative 4. So I have found two factors of c whose sum is b. I'm going to rewrite my middle term now, this term right here, my middle term, as a sum of terms using these two factors. So I'm going to break that negative 4x apart, and I'm going to rewrite it as x squared minus 7x plus 3x minus 21. You should recognize that negative 7 and that positive 3 coming from right up here, those two factors of 21. So I've done that. Next, I'm going to do step 3, factor by grouping. I'm going to group the first two terms together and factor the greatest common factor there. And I'll group the last two terms together and factor the greatest common factor there. When I've done so, it looks like this. X squared minus 7x, they have an x in common. That's what goes outside my greatest common factor, and what they have remaining is x minus 7. Over here, 3x minus 21, they have a 3 in common, and what's remaining is x minus 7. You should notice that we have a common binomial factor if we've done that correctly. So we have two different factors. We have an x minus 7, and we have an x plus 3 remaining. So we're going to rewrite that as x minus 7. That's our common binomial here. And then our x plus 3 was what was remaining. That goes here as my other factor. We can use FOIL to check our method. If we multiply that back out, we would get x squared minus 4x minus 21. Now, do you see a shortcut that we could have taken? Look at that, see if you can figure it out. I'm not going to tell it to you just now, but next class when we meet together, I'll ask you what shortcut we could have taken. Remember, we can take shortcuts because of patterns. So there is a pattern you should have recognized here that will lead you to a shortcut. All right, let's try this one. Negative 3x cubed plus 15x squared minus 36x. First, let's factor out the greatest common factor. And these three terms do have a greatest common factor. All of them. All right, so we factored out the greatest common factor here, 3x, and we're left with x squared minus 5x plus 12. We're going to look and see, are there any two factors of c whose sum is b? So we can make that little chart if we want and think about our factors of 12, positive 12, whose sum is negative 5. Now, because it's a positive number, we know that both of our factors here have to have the same sign. If we look at the factors of 12, we've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And no matter how we combine these, whether we add them both, 1 plus 12 is 13, 2 plus 6 is 8, 3 plus 4 is 7, or we do negatives, negative 1 and negative 12 is negative 13, negative 2, negative 6 is negative 8, negative 3, negative 4 is negative 7. No matter how we combine those, we can't get to 5. So there are no factors of 12 whose sum is negative 5. Because of that, we say that that is prime. It's done. It's irreducible. We cannot factor it anymore. Pulling out the negative 3x is all that we can do. All right, we're going to continue with part 2 and a couple more examples. Stay tuned.